Okay, now the next thing we need to do is display the location that's attached to the task on the item so that you know um, as a user that you want to go to a certain location for that particular task. And then we don't have a location on the task, then we won't display it. Okay, to do that, we need to update load tasks in the application to retrieve the address in lat and long, and then update the list item to conditionally display the address if we have one. So I'm going to switch back to the application. So load tasks is, use my little open trick here, is where we select out all of the information that we want from the database and then display or put that into the tasks, which will get displayed coming out of the database. So we have to update the column list here, and let's do it in the right order because order matters. We want the address off the task address, then we want task latitude, and then the task longitude. So now we have 3 more columns coming out of the select statement. And to put them into the task, we want to do something like this. After complete at line 47, I'll add. See, this is the interesting thing. So it knows how to get a float out of the database. When I had everything working with an integer, it was turning it as a float type. So I wonder how much resolution I was losing there because I got everything to work, I guess. Just the omission, using the wrong data type there wasn't enough to make things break, so I wonder how bad things actually were because those are the real tricky types of bugs where things seem to work right. In any case, now we should have the right data type in the database, and to put it onto the task, we just need to call all the setters that we created down here. And now all the tasks that come out of the database are going to have the address, latitude, and longitude set or null or 0, depending on if they actually have those bits of information, and then those will be added to the current task list. Alright, now after we do that, we just need to update the view here and resource layouts task list item. This is the individual view that gets created for each task in the list. Eclipse sometimes doesn't like strange layouts, but I don't know how this is that strange, but it seems to not like that one. So I'm going to switch over to the XML. Again, one more reason why I don't really trust the visual view that often. And I just need to add one component here. A text view, which I'll call address text. I'm going to set the visibility to gone right off the bat. Now remember that visibility is for actually not showing the component and also not letting it figure into the layout of its parent. So that means that, look back here in the presentation, you see the get milk list item is shorter than the visit Google list item, which is one nice feature of the Android lists. Actually makes variable list items or variable height list items pretty easy to deal with, which is harder in other languages and other frameworks. But now we have a text view which is called address text, which we will use to display that address if there is one. And then that all happens inside task list item. So that is the class. Remember that is instantiated for each item of the list. So I'll open that task list item. There we go. Not sure why this properties guy keeps popping up. Make him go away. Alright, task list item. This is the class that controls the view. And when we say set task, now I'm going to add a little conditional statement here. If task has address, then address text, I'll set the text and make the visibility visible, and otherwise I'll make the visibility gone. And you need to do this each time that you do this set task, because remember, each list item may get recycled as the user scrolls through the list, so it will have data on it at some point. So we need to make sure that we get everything in the right state and not just assume we're working from 0. And then we need to make a field for address text, which is just going to be the text view, or let's see, the text view which you just added into the view. Okay, we'll find that. The ID is r.id.address text. Did this import the wrong R? I think this might have imported the wrong R. Yep, imported Android R. We don't want that. We want our R, which is com.o'reilly.android.taskmanager.r. So now this R should work correctly. And we want r.id.address text. And then we also need to import view. And then we should be off to the races. So I'll run this. And now Google, once it starts over, should load with the right address. And it should show up in the task manager as having, whoa, look at that. What happened there? The size really blew up there. I wonder why that happened. So let's go figure out why that happened. I think that may be, I have to go check and see, task list item is a linear layout. So for some reason I set this up to be horizontal. I think I explained that last time because I was trying to create a view where the checkbox was next to a label, or the checkbox was on the right, aligned right, and the label was aligned left. But then I found that I could just use the text view. So
yeah, orientation should be vertical. Some people.
Yes, right. That's the long explanation, or that's the short explanation of what I was trying to say. Yes. So once we make it vertical, because basically the address is sitting off over here. Because we had the layout to horizontal, so this guy was getting laid out on the screen and then taking up all the view, and then the text view was next to it. So this should now work correctly. That's the perils of pasting in code from partially from another application that I know works. Alright, so there we go. Now the address shows up nicely underneath. And if we just add a task like the old standby get milk without a location, it shows up next with no location. So again, Android nicely deals with variable height list items. And now we're showing the address. Does anybody have any questions about that?
Yes, I have some questions, and we have a question in the audience. I'll let him ask first.
Tony, I was worried about the reading from the database when there was no lat long defined, and you would just put it in a primitive. So I was wondering if the get milk is going to try to show a location if you had shut down the app and then started it up again. Because you're going to put zeros in your location, and then it's no longer going to be null. And you know, of course, you were cutting and pasting, so I wasn't following all along if it was covered. But it seemed like you're going to have a location of 0.
Yes. Well, no, I won't have a location. Okay, so what we're storing is not like some sort of location object. We're storing 3 pieces of data: the lat long and the address. So the address is going to be null because we didn't put in a string for that. And yes, the lat and long will both be 0, but that's fine because I say inside the where is it? Well, task list item set task is where we decide to display, and all we care about is whether or not it has an address. And has address, if I hit F3 here, we'll jump to that code, and that just sees if the address is null. So that should work fine. Let me see. I can fake out the emulator by just saving this, hitting a space and saving it, and then it'll think it's different. So it'll do a full deploy again, which means that it should start from 0 and then load from the database again. So you should still see that there's no blank address there. Although it did order things differently this time. So does that answer your question?
Yes, he says it does.
Good.
And we have another audience question.
You're using 3 columns in the database to store the address, but the Google address implements parcelable, which I believe is a way of converting itself back and forth from a string. Could you have stored the address in a single column in the database as its parceled string form and then reconverted it back into a true address object when you pulled it out?
Yeah, I'm sure you could, and you could also use just the basic Java serializer too, to turn that into a string. But that's all the information that we need out of it. We could have done it that way. I think there's a lot more information. Well, there may have been more information that we didn't need. This is enough for our purposes, but yeah, that's a way of doing it.
Okay. And I have a couple of questions, and then Ruth has some questions too. Somebody asked, how do we get the corrected address from Google? So you've been spelling amphitheater without an H. Apparently you need an extra H. And so if you do misspell, but Google is able to find it anyway. Oh, I see that it did that already.
Yeah, so that's not the one I typed in. That's the one Google gave me. So yeah, it spelled it right. I have also been spelling. I don't even know if they're. I mean, spelling's a weird thing. We can have a whole other screencast on spelling, where I preach about spelling and other pedantic people can correct me. But I also spelled it with an ER instead of an RE. But apparently it changed it to an RE, or I mean, it didn't change it. It found it by some sort of method of saying, well, this is actually what the guy meant.
Basically, when you entered the location, it returns the first thing that it finds that matches.
Right, yeah. Remember, we've got a really dumb search algorithm that just gets the first one that Google gives us back blindly. And if there was no results, then we don't even really handle that case. But yeah, then that would be an indication that we really can't spell.
Okay.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions here. If I select a Visit Google task, does it display the map page?
No, but that'd be a good exercise for the viewer.
Okay. And it automatically filled in the zip code for Google's address? Apparently, I believe so.
Yes.
And finally, why do items in the database get reordered sometimes? I don't have any context with this. It just popped up suddenly.
Let's look at the order statement that we have. First of all, let me go back to the one who said, if you select it, will it show the map? Right now we're using select to mean complete, so you'd have to rethink how we do that user interaction. That's just something else to think about. Let's go back and answer the second one by looking at the application where we actually pull it out of the database. I order by task complete and then task name. This is the order by string, which gets turned into this in SQL. So since the name getMelk is alphabetically before get visit Google, it shows up first. But I didn't do the ordering when I add a new task. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does
Yes.
to me. Yep. Thank you.
I have another question. Is it also possible to get a business name for a given address?
I think so. I think that is in the later version. Somebody on the forums had a problem where they weren't getting any results back for where they were searching, and I looked into it just a little bit, and I found that there was a bug in an earlier version of the geolocator, or it was either a bug or an enhancement. I wasn't sure, where Google actually came down on that. But I think it's now implemented that you can search businesses near a certain location. So yes, I think that was fixed in August. That particular bug was fixed in August.